I decided to focus my TED Talk on something that I felt like was very important to me. So I named it I Can't See Me, Why Diverse Libraries Are So Important. And I'm taking it as a view versus on diverse classroom libraries or diverse libraries at your school or at my school. So this is very personal for me because as a child growing up who was an avid reader, I love to read. My mother always took me to the library, my brother and I, and in the library I got lost. I got lost in many books, many different characters. But when I was in school, there weren't any characters that looked like me, that had the same hair type that I had, same eye color, that could discuss some things when someone may say something that wasn't very nice because of my skin color. There was nothing like that for me to identify with. I learned about these things either from my mom telling me certain things or me reading about books in our public library. So I thought it was very important that whenever I became a teacher that I talked about all things to expose all my children to, no matter what their ethnicity was, because I feel like that is very important. So I decided to go ahead with what is diverse literature? Ugh. So when we think about diverse literature, is it only just talking about ethnicity? Is it only just talking about your sexuality, your gender, or societal groups? Well, yes, it's all of that. And the more that we're getting into making connections with our students, I think what has been happening is we've been having a lot of disconnect because some of the literature, first of all, is written so long ago, or a lot of my students don't see themselves in the book. So they don't see themselves in some of this literature and they feel like it's not important. I can't make a connection. They don't know what I'm talking about. They don't understand me. So imagine how a student may feel who may be African American and trans. I know one of the things that we've been pushing big at my school, being the reading coach, is making sure that we have diverse classroom libraries. And in our classroom libraries, we've made sure that we've gone ahead and got plenty of texts that have um, characters of ethnic backgrounds and roles other than something negative that they may witness on social media or on the news. But the one thing that we are missing is something that shows kids that there are characters that may be going through the same type transitions and changes that some of our LGBTQIA students go through. And looking for stuff, I found a lot of different resources, which I thought was amazing. Because immediately when I got into this and I thought about this, I thought about one particular student at my school who, at the beginning of the year, identified as cis, but now wants to be called he, and it kind of goes back and forth. And a lot of the teachers were like, well, she's a girl. I'm just going to say she's a girl. I feel like we have to respect what our students are being asked, are asking of us. And a lot of that may have to do with fear that we may not be ready for. We may not be ready for to discuss that type of thing because maybe we're not comfortable. So in my research, finding different types of literature, I was able to find, which I thought was great, because I am an elementary school reading coach, I was able to find different types of literature and websites that were accessible not only to myself to find out more information, but there were even some things that I was able to download onto my Padlet about just some additional resources and literature that I may want to have or may want to share with parents or teachers may want to have. So, one of my little books that I really, really enjoyed reading is a story of George. And George was a very good story about a little boy transitioning. Always felt like he was a girl. And everything about him being called George was just not who he felt like he was. So this story was very interesting. In this story, George, who I can say was my superhero, went through different things, but it was the one thing that made him stand up and become fully into who he was, and identify as Melissa, was the school play. And I feel like at that moment, George felt, or excuse me, Melissa felt like now it was time for me to come out. Now it was time for me to have my voice. So, a story like this, as well as Julian is a mermaid, and when Aiden became a brother, are different types of texts that can address transitioning and gender identity for some of our students that may be having questions like that, because maybe there are books that they pick up and they find and they see a character that looks like them, but maybe thinking about transitioning, or maybe now it is a gender identity. The other cool thing I found when I was looking for stuff was the fact that when I looked up, like, I just was curious how many books were banned that, addressed LGBTQIA topics and issues. Well, let's not be surprised that a lot of them were banned, and a lot of it had to do with um, what I read. A lot of it had to do with parents complaining, a lot of religious factors. There were some political things involved. And so I just took it as, well, maybe this was such an issue and such a problem to be banned because maybe it's simply because this wasn't available for me to learn about this community and some of the feelings, some of the insecurities, some of the wanting to know, if I say who I am, will I be accepted as that? Is society going to welcome me with open arms? Are they not? And so maybe that's what a lot of it is. Could be just my opinion. So, what I'm trying to say, and I hope in my rambling, I said it, was that I feel like when we are discussing what is important to engage our students in the love of reading, because it is very important that our students learn to read, but what is important to me when we're getting them to stay engaged in just having fun reading is making sure they can make that connection to being able to identify with a character in the story. So they may see themselves to where they can be that hero, where they can stand out, where their light can shine, where they can prosper. So banning these books and just deciding that we shouldn't talk about this is something that saddens me further, because I feel like when we are talking about we're engaging all of our students, we should engage all of our students. In closing, I hope I have been able to say why it is important that we have libraries or texts for all of our students. All of our students. And I understand there's going to be controversies. But even if we couldn't have it in our classroom, making it available or allowing them to know that where something like this may be available for all of our students to feel comfortable with coming in and learning and actually seeing themselves in text. I wish when I was in high school and even in elementary school that this type of support, these types of literature and things and information was out, because I feel like if so, one of my classmates would have been able to fully shine and not have their light dim because of who they are and what they stood for. It is sad to me that even today, and I'm speaking about something that happened 20 years ago, even today, we are still having to deal with students whose families may not accept them, may not understand. As recently as something that I saw on social media a couple of days ago of an 8-year-old little boy named Tyler who was very confident in who he is and what he is about, and was being shamed and punished for saying he was gay. His father thought it was okay to beat him and carving his head or cutting his head gay, as his mother filmed, and thought it was okay to film and call him names and hurt him and put him down. I feel like maybe if we would have had some type of diverse literacy and resources for them coming along, maybe this type of violence and just inhumane treatment wouldn't continue. Thank you.